The Galactic Council had existed for 12,000 years. In that time, they had consumed over 800 worlds. They called it harvesting. They called it necessary evolution. They called it the natural order of things. The strong ate the weak. The advanced civilizations took what they needed from the primitive ones. This was the law that had governed the galaxy since the first species learned to travel between stars. Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Endless Hunger. His scaled skin reflected the blue light of 1,000 holographic screens. Each screen showed different data about their next target, a small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. The inhabitants called it Earth. The Council called it Resource World 7291. "How long until we reach the system?" asked his navigation officer. 14 standard cycles, Admiral. Smiled. His teeth were sharp and black. He had led the harvesting fleet for 300 years. He had personally overseen the destruction of 47 civilizations. Some had begged for mercy. Some had tried to fight. All had fallen. Earth would be no different. The humans were a young species. They had only recently discovered radio waves. They had not even colonized their own moon permanently. Their most powerful weapons were nuclear devices that could barely scratch the paint on a Council warship. They were farmers discovering a lion in their field. They had no idea what was coming. The Council had been watching Earth for decades. They had intercepted human television broadcasts. They had studied human culture. They had analyzed human military capabilities. The report was clear. Humans were weak. Humans were divided. Humans spent most of their energy fighting each other over patches of dirt and invisible lines on maps. They would be easy prey. Pulled up the fleet inventory on his personal screen. 12,000 warships, 4 million soldiers, enough firepower to crack a planet in half. The humans had nothing that could stop them, nothing that could even slow them down. "Begin the standard broadcast," ordered. "Let them know we are coming. Let them have time to feel fear." The communication officer nodded. He sent out the message that had been sent to every harvested world. It explained what was about to happen. It told the inhabitants that resistance was pointless. It offered them a chance to surrender peacefully and become slaves instead of corpses. Most species chose slavery. The ones who chose to fight always regretted it. The message traveled at faster than light speed. It reached Earth in moments. Every television, every radio, every phone on the planet suddenly received the same transmission. The alien voice spoke in every human language simultaneously. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Council. Your world has been selected for harvesting. You have 14 of your days to prepare. Resistance will result in extinction. Surrender will result in servitude. Choose wisely." Watch the long-range sensors. He expected panic. He expected chaos. He expected governments to collapse and populations to riot. That was the normal response. That was what always happened. Instead, something strange occurred. The humans went quiet. For 6 hours, there was almost no communication traffic from Earth. Radio stations went silent. Television broadcasts stopped. Cell phone usage dropped to near zero. It was as if the entire species had simply frozen in place. Then a single transmission came from Earth. It was directed at the fleet. It was in the standard galactic language. Someone on Earth had apparently learned it from the original broadcast. Opened the message expecting to hear begging. He expected surrender. He expected the usual pathetic pleas for mercy. Instead, he heard laughter. A human voice spoke. It was calm. It was almost amused. It said only this: "We have been waiting for you." Felt something he had not felt in 300 years. A small cold sensation in his stomach. Uncertainty. "What does that mean?" he asked the bridge. No one answered. No one knew. Over the next several hours, more data came in from Earth. Observation drones sent detailed reports. What they showed made no sense. The humans were not panicking. They were not fighting each other. They were not building defenses. Instead, they were doing something impossible. They were cooperating. Every nation on Earth had suddenly stopped all conflicts. Armies that had been shooting at each other an hour ago were now sharing supplies. Governments that had been bitter enemies were now in constant communication. The entire species had unified in the span of a single afternoon. More concerning were the technological readings. Power signatures were appearing all over the planet. Massive power signatures, energy readings that should have been impossible for a species at their development level. It was as if the humans had been hiding something big. Demanded more information. His science officers worked frantically. What they discovered changed everything. The humans had been aware of alien life for decades. They had discovered evidence of the Council's existence long ago. They had found the wreckage of harvested worlds. They had intercepted Council communications. They knew what was coming. They had known for 50 years. And they had been preparing. Every piece of human technology that the Council had observed was fake. The primitive rockets were fake. The chemical weapons were fake. The fossil fuel dependency was fake. It was all an act, a deliberate performance designed to make the humans look weak, designed to make them look like easy prey, designed to make the Council underestimate them. The real human technology was hidden, underground, in the oceans, in orbit around planets that the Council had never bothered to monitor. The humans had been building in secret. They had been preparing for this moment for half a century. Received an updated tactical analysis. His blood went cold. The humans had 300 orbital defense platforms hidden on the dark side of their moon. They had a fleet of 2,000 warships concealed in the asteroid belt. They had weapons that the Council had never seen before. Weapons based on principles that Council science considered impossible. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what the humans had been doing to other species. Over the past 50 years, human agents had been traveling through the galaxy. They had visited every species that the Council had conquered, every slave race, every broken civilization. The humans had given them technology. They had given them weapons. They had given them hope. And they had given them a promise. When the Council came for Earth, every enslaved species would rise up together, at the same moment, across the entire galaxy. Check the reports from Council space. His hands began to shake. Rebellions had started on 40 different worlds. Slave populations that had been quiet for centuries were suddenly fighting back. They were using human weapons. They were using human tactics. They were winning. The Council's forces were spread thin across the galaxy. They had never expected internal threats. They had never prepared for a coordinated uprising. Their empire was crumbling in real time. Another message came from Earth. This time it was a video transmission. A human stood before the camera. He wore a simple uniform. His eyes were hard. He spoke slowly so that every word would be understood. My name is Admiral Wei. I speak for the United Human Defense Force. I speak for every free being in this galaxy. Your empire of fear ends today. He paused, let the words sink in. For 12,000 years you have harvested worlds. You have enslaved billions. You have murdered trillions. You believed you were the strongest. You believed no one could challenge you. You were wrong. More reports flooded screens. Council fleets were being destroyed. Strongholds were falling. The rebellion was spreading faster than anyone could have predicted. Admiral continued speaking. We are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for every world you have ever touched, every species you have ever crushed, every child you have ever taken from their parents. Today, the galaxy says enough. The transmission ended. Stared at his screens. His fleet was still strong. He could still attack Earth. He could still try to win. But he knew the truth. Everyone knew the truth. The Council had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy who planned for 50 years. An enemy who could unite an entire planet in 6 hours. An enemy who could organize a galaxy-wide revolution without being detected. The humans had turned the Council's greatest strength into their greatest weakness. The Council had spread too far, conquered too many worlds, created too many enemies, and now all those enemies were fighting back together. Looked at his navigation officer. The young soldier was pale, afraid. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Thought about his options. He could attack Earth and probably lose. He could retreat and watch the Empire collapse. He could surrender and beg for mercy from the same species he had planned to enslave. Before he could answer, another message came from Earth, just 6 words. "Choose wisely, we are waiting." The same words the Council had used, thrown back in their faces. Understood then. The humans had learned everything from watching the Council. They had studied their enemy. They had found every weakness. They had built a trap that spanned the entire galaxy, and the Council had walked right into it. The Admiral sat down heavily in his command chair. His legs would not support him anymore. 300 years of victories, 47 conquered worlds, all of it meant nothing now. The galaxy had a new power, and that power was humanity. Across the Empire, Council fleets began to surrender. Governors abandoned their posts. Slave masters ran from their estates. The old order was dying. Something new was being born. On Earth, celebrations began. People danced in the streets. Strangers hugged each other. The long deception was over. The masks could finally come off. Humanity could finally show the galaxy who they really were. Admiral watched the reports come in. Victory after victory, planet after planet freed. He allowed himself a small smile. 50 years of preparation. 50 years of pretending to be weak. 50 years of playing the fool while building an army in the shadows. It had all been worth it. He turned to his aide, a young woman with fire in her eyes. "Send a message to every free world. Tell them the harvest is over. Tell them the galaxy belongs to the people who live in it. Tell them humanity keeps its promises." The message went out. It spread from star to star. It reached every corner of the galaxy. And everywhere it went, people celebrated. Chains were broken. Tyrants were overthrown. A new era began. The Council had thought they were hunting prey. They never realized they were walking into the den of predators. Earth had been their target. Earth had become their end. And the galaxy would never forget the day that one small blue planet taught the stars what courage really meant.